How's it going? I just wanted to make a quick video. I was trying to install Windows 10 on my brand new system, and it completely failed. It wouldn't even detect. Um, it wouldn't even load Windows. Just would hang on the Windows logo. You know, you usually have those little dots that spin around. Don't really know what it's doing because Windows doesn't tell you. But um, those little dots never popped up, and it's because IOMMU was activated, and I guess Windows chokes on it. Even after I installed it successfully, which took me a day to figure out what the problem was. I was unplugging hardware and opening my case up after I just got done putting it all together and all this different type of stuff, and it just wouldn't work. So it's really annoying because, I mean, even after I got it started, right? I got Windows started the next day after I figured out what the problem was. Had all the right BIOS settings and all this crap. And then as soon as that happened, I installed it when I woke up in the morning. And it's now about 3 o'clock. The whole entire day today, I was just trying to update Windows. Now, I installed a few programs that I used while I was trying to update Windows, but it just kept on locking up. I got the clock watchdog timeout, and it just kept on getting the blue screen over and over and over again. And it's really annoying because I'm on Linux right now, and all I had to do, I mean, I usually use Linux, but sometimes for different programs you kind of need to use Windows, depending on what you're doing. Most of the time you don't, but some Windows programs are just a lot nicer to use now. I mean, I know a bunch of people are going to give me crap about that, but it's really true. There are a few pieces of software out there where people have really polished them. They're just better. I'm a programmer. I make software. So I know what's possible. I know you can make good software on Linux. It's just we need more time and investment, which, already you can see a big shift, because I remember when it was so easy to install Windows. It was just during Windows 7 days. I mean, and this isn't to say all systems. My system's relatively new. I got a X399 system, which if you read my blog, you'll know what my system specs are and everything like that. But it's a Threadripper, Gigabyte Gaming Aorus, and all this different type of stuff now. I installed Windows 10 on a different machine. It went through first time. But that's the thing, is if I put Linux on there, Linux is going to work every time. And it's not a problem to update it. I update Linux fine. In fact, right now, I copied the partition that that my Linux system was operating on, because Windows, when I was trying to install, wouldn't let me install unless it was on the 0 hard drive. So I would either had to remove everything or just install on my NVMe drive, which I was going to try to see how it worked anyway, because I was going to do some benchmarks and stuff like that. So what I did was I just copied the partition from my NVMe drive, copied it to an SSD drive, and that's what I'm running on right now, Linux. And so I just copied it over. Windows wasn't working, right? Tried multiple times, read blog articles, like wasted days, 2 days, okay? I wasted 2 potentially productive days trying to get Windows to work. I gave Windows a shot, and I might end up just installing it in a virtual machine or something like that, because I do have a Threadripper. It's not like it's going to really matter that much. I think it'll be probably run a lot better just using it in a virtual machine. But, you know, to get back to the point, I ran everything on Linux. I took the partition from the NVMe drive, put it on an SSD, right? And I was trying to run Windows on the NVMe drive. And, you know, it ran, it booted up, just kept locking up with that blue screen, watchdog timeout. And so now I'm back on my Linux system, right? And I booted up from the SSD that I copied over. So not only did Windows waste my time trying to install it, waste my time trying to update it. Speaking of which, I couldn't even install my driver directly from the NVIDIA website. Now, I'm not sure if this is Windows' fault or NVIDIA's fault, because now all the drivers are incorporated into Windows Update, and so you can't do it yourself anymore or something like that. I don't really know. But, man, Windows is a mess. And I have a brand new system. This is brand new Windows 10 Pro. And it's giving me all these problems. So, I don't know. I'm not going to say that Linux is perfect, because I really hate the fact that a bunch of people expect you to, you know, bust out the command line and do all this stuff. It's like a way to be lazy, kind of. They need to make wizards for things. They need to make point and click. Okay? Linux, you need point and click. Now, I'm a programmer. I can make software. I just don't want to fool around with a bunch of stuff all the time, right? Because you want to just do what you want to do and get on with it. You don't want to spend a whole bunch of time, you know, messing around. So, I guess all I wanted to say is I was really surprised. I was really surprised that when I tried to get Windows working on a brand new system that's not, I mean, I've been using this system for probably like 3 or 4 months now. So it's not like it's absolutely brand new where you're going to expect to have some problems because everything is so brand new. I have the newest BIOS firmware. I have, you know, I had to install drivers. Really strange. I had to install drivers. I had to put them, download them with a different system, put them on a USB stick, put them into my Windows system because I didn't have internet. I didn't have the internet when I installed Windows. What the heck? On Linux, I had the internet. I had perfect, well, not perfect, but pretty dang good open source graphics video, which now I have the NVIDIA driver because I need CUDA. But pretty much everything worked. I run Kubuntu, so I mean, I got all the flashy stuff. It basically looks like Windows too. It's just, man, I think people just don't understand how bad Windows is sucking now. You go to their website and things like, they did a design change and they tried to improve it, but it's just like, I don't know. Back when I was using, you know, Windows 8, Windows 7, all that, my favorite version of Windows is probably Windows 98, personally. I mean, that's when I spent the most time, played, you know, games on GameSpot. I really enjoyed it. It was just simple, 500 megahertz computer. You try to, you know, get down to the slimmest windows that you could get. And now they like try to pack on all this tracking. You have to disable like 15 different settings so you can have privacy on your own computer, and you have to disable a whole bunch of stuff so you can download applications, because I think they're trying to do something more like Mac or more like tablets and stuff like this, where now they're the single arbiter of applications and everything has to go through the App Store. It's just, I'm really appreciating Linux. And I think a lot of people, they don't understand that Linux has come a long way. I mean, it still has a lot of problems, but it's come a long way. And I'm really impressed with it, especially after I put it on this system. My other system, you know, I installed Windows, I installed Linux on it. It's like 8 years old, 6 years old maybe, and it's a AMD FX 8320, and it's an old MSI board, and you know, it's runs super well. So I'm kind of expecting it to be able to do well, both operating systems for a middle of the road kind of thing. But all these developers are supposedly making drivers, making software, making games, all this stuff specifically for Windows. Well, why is everything working better on Linux? A marginal amount of resources is put into Linux, and it works better. Okay? Stop contributing to Windows. Windows sucks. I just tried it. Now, if you're going to a store and you're just, you know, Joe Schmo buying a computer, you know, I don't even think it's good for you then either. I mean, unless there's a very specific piece of software that you need. Most, like, okay, if you're a stockbroker, most stockbroking apps, they work with Linux. And in a lot of them, they also work with Wine, which I paid for a subscription through of Crossover, just because I'm trying to support the project. There's video editing software, so it's probably not all of it's not as good, but I mean, there's Blender, KDE Live. And then there's, you know, programming software. Pretty much all the best programming software can be found on Linux as well as any other system. With the exception, of course, of Visual Studio or Xcode. And Visual Studio is, you know, it's pretty good. I'm not going to lie about that. It's written in C++, I believe. So it means it's very fast, pretty efficient. Whereas you have other software, you know, that is one complaint I have, is that we do need better IDEs. Kdevelop, I think, is the one that comes closest to Visual Studio on Linux, or even Qt Creator. And GNOME Builder is kind of like, it's really new and it's kind of like a joke. I mean, they make it look really pretty, I'll give them that. But as far as comparing in features and languages and, you know, just being, because if you go to Visual Studio, right, you go to Visual Studio, you look at, they support Node.js, they support Python, Hadoop, they support Spark, all these different database appliance type of services. They support C++, cross-platform C++, cross-platform Linux, mobile development, just every type of development you can think of almost. I mean, they're supporting it. Now, Linux, this is the biggest gripe I have about Linux, which is it's kind of getting fixed, and I think it's going to start to improve because there's a lot of new blood getting into Linux, and that's really cool. But there's no all-encompassing development, you know, path. You know, they have Qt Creator, but then Qt Creator, which is a really good development platform. I like Qt. It's super awesome, especially if you're going to write C++ and you're coming from some other language. It's kind of has like really good concepts you can understand. It's clean. Some basic kind of garbage collection, but it's not like a garbage collector. It's not going to, you know, ruin the performance of your software. But, you know, to get back to the point, even Qt Creator doesn't have like tools built to make like a snap package, which is like the future, I think, of all software on Linux. Is going to be like a snap package, a Flatpak, or app image. You know, I'm not really sure which one's going to win out, but a containerized application is just makes so much more sense. You know, you can have a central repository. That central repository can be used for every single Linux distribution. It makes way more sense. It doesn't make any sense to have, you know, regular users going into run the Linux whatever packaging manager that you're using, like apt or whatever. It doesn't make any sense to have those type of things being manipulated by the user. I mean, maybe on rare occurrences when you need it, but everything should be able to be exploited through, you know, funnels. Every piece of hardware should be able to be exposed if the user allows it through a containerized application. And, you know, all the other stuff for the repository stuff for apt and, you know, Yum, or, well, not even Yum anymore. They don't have that anymore. They have some other one now. I don't really know what it is, but, you know, EO package, or, you know, whatever, all those other different packages. Those ones should just be used by the people that are maintaining the distribution, so they can keep their core solid, right? And the core is, you know, all the stuff that, you know, maybe that's not even going to really be needed anymore either. And that'd be an interesting situation to have the entire, well, whatever, doesn't really matter. But all I'm saying is that that's one place where Windows does have a lot more benefits to it. So I think that, yeah, that's something we need to improve, and you know, hopefully it works out. Now, a lot of the problem is we got a lot of these companies to start making Debs or, you know, different Linux packages. But if you look at the Linux packages, they're only for one specific system. And for the user, you know, I know a lot of people, they know how to convert them. You can use like Alien, or, you know, you can, there's different ways to get that stuff working. But again, it's all about time. And if what we're trying to do is make it so Linux users have more time, we need to make sure that they have the basic necessities covered, and they need to be able to be used universally throughout Linux, GNU Linux, whatever you want to call it, the open operating system of love and goodwill, or whatever you want to call it. It's just, yeah, need to improve that. So apart from that, I mean, maybe sound processing stuff. I mean, I'm not really into that, so I don't really know what kind of applications are for DJs or something like that. Maybe there's some stuff that's missing. I'm not really sure. But yeah, most everything you can do on Linux now. And I'm really grateful to, you know, Steam pushing the agenda to get everything on Linux, because if you think about it, if they really do a good job, this could make games work so much better. You wouldn't have the instance where, you know, you have this one game that you used to play 10 years ago and it doesn't work anymore. Because if it doesn't work anymore, you can fix it. And if Steam or, you know, anybody else packages it into these containerized packages, well, they're going to work. I mean, all they got to do is support the base. I mean, it makes a lot more sense. And yeah, so I think that's all I'm going to say for now. Just wanted to share my experience with how Windows was really sucky, and was kind of amazed by how well Linux performed. So anyway, catch you later.